Welcome to the latest episode of Surgeons' Lives. I'm your host, John Monson. My guest today is Dr. Mark Evers. He has a lot of titles, but let's just say that he's a surgical oncologist, cancer researcher, educator, and the leader of the Markey Cancer Center at the University of Kentucky. Under Mark's leadership, Markey achieved National Cancer Institute designation in 2013 and Comprehensive Cancer Center status with its renewal in 2023. I've known Mark Evers for more than 30 years, since we first met during his tenure at the University of Texas Medical Branch Cancer Center in Galveston, Texas. He's a Southern boy through and through, having been born in Alabama but living most of his life in Tennessee. In this fascinating conversation today, he talks at length about how surgery has changed in his career, how he decided to move away from the normal academic pathway of searching for a chairman's position, and his true obsession in life, which is being a groupie or superfan of the Rolling Stones. Please don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel and send us whatever comments you may have. So without further ado, let's go over and listen to Dr. Mark Evers. I'm John Monson, and this is Surgeons' Lives. So listen, thank you so much for joining this little podcast, which, as you know, its title may be Surgeons' Lives, but it's the subtitle is Stuff That Matters, which I created because I wanted to show that there was frequently more to surgeons than what you can find on PubMed and, all of that stuff. And so we've interviewed people from literally around the world, and I normally ask people to start, as I'll do with you, by giving us a brief little intro to you and Mark Evers by starting with the words "I was born in."
Okay. Okay, great. Well, yeah, so I come from a really, really small town in southern Tennessee called Loretta. I was born actually in Florence, Alabama, simply because that was the larger hospital in our area. My dad worked for Tennessee Valley Authority after getting out of the war. That was in Muscle Shoals, Alabama. So had a wonderful life on a farm, and so learned all of the great hard work ethic of baling hay and doing all the kinds of chores that are required. Um, I was the first in my family to go to college, which I'm really proud of as well. My dad, who's incredibly smart, um, didn't go to high school simply because there were 12 kids in the family, and they weren't able to send them all to either high school or college. So, but he did very well for himself, and again had a great childhood. I went to the University of Tennessee at Knoxville for my undergraduate, and then over to Memphis, University of Tennessee, for medical school. And then after that, loved surgery, obviously, and did my residency training at University of Louisville under Dr. Polk, who's been a great mentor and great friend now for so many years. Following that training, I went to University of Texas Medical Branch in Galveston. That's where you and I met with Jim Thompson and Courtney Townsend. Spent 20 great years there. Wonderful mentors as well. And then in 2009, I was asked to look at this position here at the University of Kentucky as Cancer Center Director. And at the time, the Markey Cancer Center was not NCI designated, so that was certainly one of my great challenges when I came, because most people know that Kentucky has a number of challenges from a disparity standpoint, cancer being one. So It was a great opportunity. Again, I moved in 2009. I've been Cancer Center director for a little over 16 years, and um, that's about it.
And I mean, I think it would be remiss not to acknowledge the fact that you achieved NCI designation and then indeed, I think I'm correct in saying comprehensive designation.
Right. So really proud of that, but
Yeah.
it's a great testament to great colleagues and the resources that I had to develop that. But yeah, we um, so as you know, with the National Cancer Act back in the early 1970s, many of the early cancer centers came on board then. So in terms of NCI, our cancer center is still fairly new, yeah,
Yeah.
still fairly young. I mean, we achieved NCI designation in 2013, and basically the NCI says you've got to wait 10 years until you can even be considered for comprehensive status. And really proud of the fact that we put in the application for comprehensive status and achieved it in 2023. So yeah, a lot to be proud of.
Yeah, for sure. Now, going back to the early days, as you say, you're the first in your family to go to college, and your dad was the opposite, not going even to high school, etc. Was there a family or personal, obviously, but was there a family determination that you were definitely going to go to university and do whatever?
Well, I would say both my parents. I mean, my mother graduated high school and didn't go to college, but they both had a very firm belief in their children getting an education and them doing whatever great things they wanted to do. So it was never, you got to go to medical school, but it's just me and my sister, and we both went to medical school. She's now a practicing dermatologist in Nashville. So, but it was really that work ethic and the support that our parents provided. But again, it was never a draconian, you got to
I know.
go X, Y, Z, but certainly had a lot of great influences where I grew up.
And yeah, I mean the push was to achieve rather than what you would,
Absolutely.
you know.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
exactly. And where did the medicine come from? I mean, was it just something that tickled your fancy when you were in university or college or what?
Yeah, so I mean, I was interested in science, so that was fascination with science, with biological sciences, chemistry, etc. But in my little community or in the county where I grew up, there was a surgeon, general surgeon by the name of Dr. Thomas. And, in our community, there was God, and then there was Dr. Thomas, just right below that. And he was a really an example for me. I mean, I just loved the interactions, saw what he did, shadowed him for many years. And he was the quintessential general surgeon. He would go in, do a hysterectomy, then do a gallbladder, then go to the ER and set a fracture. And then you go to his clinic, and I'd say probably 75% of the patients were non-surgical. They were hypertension, diabetes, whatever, but would spend an enormous amount of time with those individuals. So that really, again, kind of hooked me into not only medicine but surgery. I mean, I really was resolved to the fact that surgery was for me. I mean, I looked at every going through the rotations, really enjoyed that, but based on the experience of Dr. Thomas, I mean that sort of hooked me.
Did you, at that time, was your ambition to be the next Dr. Thomas? Um,
Yeah, it's interesting because it was. I mean, because we had actually had some conversations about me finishing up and then coming back into a private rural practice, which would have been enjoyable, but then I sort of caught the academic bug during medical school and certainly with Dr. Polk in the residency program. and kind of came to the conclusion that I could probably do the same gallbladder surgery for the rest of my life, but that wasn't going to be as challenging as using, let's say, the other side of my brain in terms of more academic pursuits. So yeah, I mean, you're exactly right. I was hooked on that, and I had plans of going back and practicing with him.
If you go back to that town now, yeah, as you say, the hierarchy was God and the doctor, and then
Yeah.
somebody below that. I'm not sure, maybe the lawyer or whatever.
Well, probably preachers after that, I mean, that's
So if you went back to the town now, what does the hierarchy look like now, do you think?
it's much different. Um, Maybe God is still up there somewhere. I think unfortunately in the small community that I came from, it seems like it's more interim. I mean, locum tenens type of physicians, and not necessarily physicians who want to have that sort of rural background base. I mean, they're looking more toward the larger cities and that sort of thing. So, I'd say it's much different than when I grew up.
Yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure. And I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I'm guessing that perhaps one of the first mentors who really influenced your life was probably Hiram Polk, as you say.
Yeah, he was. I mean, he was such an inspiration to me. Still is. I mean, we meet on a regular basis, and in fact, I'm going to take him out to lunch here in a week or so. So that's going to be fun. But it was. I tell people. I mean, Dr. Polk has been somewhat of a almost a second father figure to me. I mean, the two people I've not wanted to disappoint in my life are my own father and Dr. Polk. So yeah, so he's had a major influence on me.
He is a man, and I've learned this phrase interviewing a lot of people who have been mentored by iconic figures, and the phrase that's often used is he is a multifaceted character,
Yes.
which covers a multitude of sins. But what, and there's no question that very inspirational guy, but a lot of other aspects to him as well. What was it about him that struck a chord with you?
Well, he expected excellence out of himself and the people around him. So that struck me. And really, when he went to Louisville, it was not a mainstream surgical place. Okay, so he developed that really, and he took the chairmanship at age 35, which is just mind-boggling to me that somebody that young would take on that kind of administrative role. But he's the one that really put it on his back, I think. I mean, he had some great people that came through, no doubt, but that's what struck me. I mean, just that work ethic of expectations. But sometimes folks expect a lot of you, but not necessarily from themselves. But that was not the case with him. But I mean, you mentioned multifaceted. I mean, he is an icon in the horse racing, thoroughbred horse racing industry as well, as you know. I was just fascinated. He recently came out with a book on his life, and just I mean, I knew of all the academic accolades and what all that he's done in that regard, but it was really fascinating to read the influence that he's had on thoroughbred race horse industry.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And like a lot of figures of that type, strong figures, the potential to be polarizing.
Yeah, I suppose so. I mean, but very strong figures within the institution, very well respected. But you think about those times. I mean, that was. surgery chairs at that time. You know, the
Sure.
David Sabistons, the Hiram Polks, the zoologers. I mean, very strong-willed individuals who really led the institutions that they were in.
You've mentioned obviously his work ethic and dedication to excellence. You worked, of course, with a couple of other iconic figures, Jim Thompson and Courtney Townsend. Do they all share that same characteristic, or did they all have their own special thing?
Well, they're all special for a variety of reasons, but all of them are um, dedicated, smart, hardworking individuals, and I was very fortunate to be trained under those individuals. But you got a Jim Thompson who is just a bombastic Texan personality. I mean, just an iconic figure in terms of in the institution, what he's done, what he did on a research basis, but just being around him. I mean, he was a colorful figure who, I mean, I wish I'd written down all the quotes that he said over time. And then Courtney Townsend is somebody who really sparked my interest in not only GI hormones, but GI hormones and their effects on cancer. So just another wonderful mentor that I feel very fortunate to have trained under.
I asked somebody recently, of those three, obviously the one that I know best is Courtney, and all three, I think, are, to coin a phrase, are and were or are men of their times.
Yes,
As you say. But I asked somebody recently how a man like Courtney, who is as Texas as they come, Paris, Texas, etc., with the turn of phrase, that he has and the observational. How does somebody like that succeed as being president of whatever? And the answer came back because he was truly authentic.
absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. Totally transparent. Told you what he thought, which is appreciated these days and times because oftentimes people beat around the bush and don't come out and tell you exactly what they're thinking. But that's not Courtney.
So, your life description, and obviously it's just the headlines, etc. But I think it would be fair to say that you would have to plead guilty to the accusation that you were a Southern boy.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I appreciate my Southern roots. And I tell people when I was looking around for residency positions, I mean, I really wanted to train. There's some awfully good training programs in the Southeast, and that's where I looked.
So, does could you have ever seen yourself being in Manhattan and Memorial Sloan Kettering or UCLA or places like
Sure, sure. But would I've been totally happy? Probably not. But I think I could have made it just fine.
that? So, you've been mentored by icons, and you're heading to the phase that somebody's going to accuse you of being an icon yourself. In your career, you've achieved great things. What will they say about Mark Evers? What was his thing? Why was he successful? What did you bring to the table?
Well, I think I don't know if I've brought that much to the table to tell you the truth, and it's never going to be icon status like folks that I've just mentioned. But I think certainly a determination to succeed, and really almost a fear of failure, to tell you the truth. I mean, I've always had that, and so sometimes that has been more of a driving factor. But I think that, I've never asked anybody to do anything more than I would do themselves and tried to be the leader that turns the lights on in the morning, turns them off at night. So, I think people understand when they see you how you perform, that you're just not asking them to step it up, but you try to step it up yourself.
It's a very it's a traditional model, isn't it? The first in the morning, the last out in the day, it's at the night, etc. What have you seen in terms of over the years of your experience, leaders changing in their, the way they do things? And because there is a new generation, and you talk to Gen Z or whoever it might be, whatever letter it is at the moment, that concept of first morning, last night doesn't resonate as much now as it used to.
No, it doesn't. And sometimes I end up sounding like a dinosaur, but you're exactly right. And it seems like people are not willing. I mean, I spent 20 years in Galveston, had a fantastic time. I've been 16 years here as director. But I think they're looking for more transient opportunities and always looking at sort of the next step. And not that work life balance is extremely important, but so are your patients. So are,
Yeah.
I mean, the work that we do. So, you, you know, I don't know about what 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 you were looking for in terms of, but I spent many years looking at various chair of surgery positions because I thought that was going to be the next step for me. But I was based it on the image of a Hiram Polk, of a David Sabiston, of a Zollinger or Jim Thompson even, who really had, I mean, the clinical dollars were flowing into the departments, and really they were the icons, so to speak, of those institutions. I mean, they were the the leaders, the very vocal leaders, and made sure that surgery had what it needed. But I think as time has gone on and that has eroded, and unfortunately, that position, I hate to say it, but has become more of a mid-level
Yep.
managerial position,
Yep.
and that's what in the end really attracted me to this type of position as a director because I get to do fun stuff. I mean, I still operate. I have a research laboratory, but putting together teams, it might be from College of Engineering, pharmacy, whatever, but being able to do that is exciting. It's invigorating to me.
You mentioned that, and I would include in that. I had that conversation many times with the late great Cy Schwartz,
Yes.
who commented to me when I was in Rochester and we used to talk at length. As he said, he never once spoke to the dean when he was chair about money because
Right.
the clinical dollar paid for everything. Uh,
Exactly right.
he was the financial powerhouse, and as
Yes.
you say, that went away, and now the chair of surgery is involved in making sure you have your flu vaccines and things like, I mean,
Yeah, I
it's a
mean, I
little,
see what chairs of surgery do now. I mean, if a resident goes over the 80-hour work week by
yeah,
1 hour or 2 hours, I mean, they spend their entire day then
yeah.
trying to rectify that situation or whatever. I mean, it just seeing what they have to deal with, it doesn't appeal to me.
But now I'm going to hit you and say, so as the world turns, things happen. So you followed a pathway that meant that you were less vulnerable to the loss of the clinical dollar, as
Yeah,
you say. And now we find ourselves where the research dollar has just been cancelled. Now we all hope, of course, it's transient and perhaps common sense might prevail and all of those things, but not necessarily. We don't know. So
Right.
you escaped from one and are about to be hit from another.
Yeah. Yeah. That's true.
And I have to say, I read something that you'd said maybe a month or so ago, a month or two ago, saying, let's not panic. It's hopefully this will be okay. But are you worried?
Well, so I've been in academics over 30 years, and every year I'm worried. I mean, it's not, I mean, certainly this year has been tumultuous for various reasons. But so sure, I'm concerned, but yet I can tell my junior faculty that, look, I've been through this, I've been through these cycles, and I do know from speaking to members of Congress, because I've spent quite a bit of time in DC here over the last several months, that there is to a T bipartisan support for NIH and for cancer research.
Yeah.
I think particularly the delegation from Kentucky really see what has happened, what has transpired with Markey Cancer Center being the only NCI designated state cancer center in a state with very high cancer incidence and the programs that we put in place. So, I'm encouraged by that, and then seeing what has come out of the House and Senate subcommittees that they are sustaining that NIH budget and even small increases. So I'm encouraged with that, and so that's how I make it through the day. I'm normally an optimistic person, and I think the best.
So, your young faculty come to you, or embarking on the career. Would you describe yourself as optimistic for the future of academic surgery in general terms?
Well, I think yeah, I am. And I tell people be- because I think in that interview that you reference, I was optimistic, but it is worrisome to see a generation of individuals who see all of this, or I'm talking, young postdocs, young junior faculty, and saying, "The heck with this! I'm not going to." So I worry because I think that from a cancer perspective, and I tell people this, I've been in this business now for 30 plus years, and I'm the most optimistic that I've ever been in the last 5 to 10 years to see the treatments, how we now are looking more at precision therapies for cancers. And when you and I started out, it was, you had 3 or 4 chemotherapeutic agents and they made the patients deathly sick because they were systemic poisons. But now, you're really talking about cures for certain cancers, which I didn't think would be even possible in my lifetime. So that makes me optimistic for the future, but just worried about this next generation of researchers and clinician scientists coming up.
Yeah, I think, it's interesting if you look at the career, I'm sorry, the practice of surgery that you started with and the practice of surgery that you now have, it's wildly different, for the better. You have
Absolutely.
minimally invasive approaches that have revolutionized the practice of surgery for the better. You have, as you say, agents that actually work. You have molecular understandings that are curing cancers, et cetera, et
Right.
cetera. So the practice of medicine and surgery is clearly better in terms of for the patient, but the practice of medicine and surgery as the worker attempting to do it is by everyone will say is much worse than it was. So
Yeah.
yes, yes, the medicine as a what can medicine do for me as a patient is so
Right.
much better.
So
But
much better. Right.
doing it and having to do it, with all the aggravation and the stress and the stuff, that's so much worse.
Yeah. No, I would agree with that. I think it sort of gets back to that initial aspirations of going into a rural practice surgery. I mean, that would have driven me crazy over over the years in terms of how practice has changed since Dr. Thomas practiced and didn't have to worry with
Yeah.
calling insurance companies every day and haggling over why can't, my patient get what they need. But then having the other aspect, that academic research aspect, um, sort of maintains you through some of the other stressors, I would say.
Yeah, for sure. Can you remember when you started out in this journey, what your ambitions were? And the follow-on, of course, is and what are your ambitions now?
Yeah, boy, that's a good question because I tell people I was incredibly naive. So I'm not for sure if I really had a whole heck of a lot of ambitions just to get through the program. Because I mean, but things really I mean, I was fortunate because of mentors who really led me in the right way, and really set up opportunities for me that I look back now and say, geez, I mean, if I'd not had that, where would I be today? Because, it was it, so you say ambitions. I mean, certainly with Dr. Polk or Townsend or Thompson, they always had lofty ambitions. So it was like, you need to get into such and such academic society, and we're going to help you with leadership type roles. So, I mean, some of that fell into place with me being incredibly naive. Um, so that's good. I mean,
They um they saw you as being somebody who could make it big, if you like. Did you see yourself as being somebody who could be? Were you there going? Did you suffer from imposter syndrome, or did you say, "Yeah, bring it on"?
well, imposter a bit, I have to say, because coming from a really, really small town, um, you- so that was certainly something that I mean, you didn't have that sort of big town environment and see what was going on in that regard. So yeah, so there were doubts, but I think over time people had faith in me, and I appreciate that and try not to let them down.
And before we pivot onto some of the other things, uh, are there aspects of your life and career journey that you look back on and say, I'd like to have done this differently, or uh, I suppose you could call it regrets, or just something that you think on balance, I should have done that, or maybe I really would have liked to have done that for a while, or whatever. Anything like that?
I've tried to never be that way in terms of regrets. I mean, I've enjoyed, in fact, again, as I say, I've been incredibly lucky, incredibly fortunate, and things have kind of clicked into place, and I've really enjoyed what I've done and where I am today. So, yeah, I guess I could look back and say, gee, I wish I could have done X, Y, Z a little bit differently, but I just feel incredibly lucky.
So when the tonight, when you flick the lights off, last out of the building, of course, we will be checking on that. What makes Mark Evers happy? What's life like outside of the office, and what do you do, and what's fun for you?
Yeah, so incredibly boring, John. So I will tell you, but I see those sports cars behind you, and it's like, oh my God, this is I lead such an incredibly boring life. But my wife and I have recently had our first grandbaby, so we're very pleased with
Congratulations.
that. And our daughter and her husband and family were visiting just a couple of weeks ago. So we had an incredible time here in Kentucky. Beautiful weather, went to the horse track, etc. But tonight, when I flick off the lights, there's a new restaurant in town that we've been wanting to try, and we have reservations, and so I'm very much looking forward to that.
Excellent. Do you
Yeah.
have hobbies?
Yes, yes, I do. I don't know if I can necessarily call them hobbies, but certainly out of office things, so
Yeah.
so to speak. I mean, again, it's not quite as exciting as many of your other guests because it seems like, we spend our formative years, doing things like academics and
Yep.
and and stuff, and maybe don't have as much time for other things. But for me, really gotten more into hiking and the whole weight training. So, I'm hitting the gym now for weights about four times a week. And my son just started medical school. So before he went to medical school, we really got into hiking again. So we recently went on a 15-mile hike, which was quite invigorating, but quite stupid as well because it was probably the hottest day of the year. We have aspirations going to the Grand Canyon here in a couple of months when he's on break. So looking forward to that. I've really enjoyed getting back into tennis as well. I was very much an avid player in high school and college, but then let it drop with medical school and all the strains of that. So really getting back into more competitive tennis. Um, you know, for many surgeons, it's always been golf, but I would not know which end of the club to use, I'm afraid. So tennis has always been a fascinating sport for me. And then, just fascination with sort of the older rock. So we go to quite a few concerts, and I'm just an avid Stones fan, which people find hard to believe, but been a fan for early 70s, and I've been to multiple concerts, probably, I don't know, over 50 concerts over the time. So that's been a lot of fun, and I'm looking forward to the new album coming out here soon.
So I need to get clarity here. Are you telling me that you've been to 50 Stones concerts?
Yes, yes,
Wow.
yes. So
That's
several, I mean, when they're touring and
yeah.
seen them in multiple venues, smaller clubs, as well as the bigger stadiums. But it's I
Yeah,
I
that's a serious
yeah,
habit
yeah,
for
yeah,
sure.
yeah,
So I asked this of a number of people, and you say, all of my guests have more exciting hobbies and lives, but that's not true, I assure you. And and you sometimes get the hint when it comes to this question, which is, so um, uh, when are you going to retire, and what's your thinking about that?
yeah. Oh me. Um, yeah, so I think a lot about that. I mean, back in the day, my dad's company, again, worked for Tennessee Valley Authority, had to retire at age 65.
Yep.
Well, I mean, he had a farm that he still enjoyed and worked on, but I thought at the time, here's this vigorous man, and somebody's telling him you got to get out of your job at a prescribed age. So I'm 67 and I love what I'm doing. I get excited every day. And my wife has already told me that you're not going to retire because I'm not for sure if I can stand you in the house every day for the whole time. So I don't know. I mean, certainly succession planning from the standpoint of director of the Cancer Center. I mean, we have a number of projects, a new building going up that will be completed in 2028. But, thinking about life after that, but I don't see myself, I mean, I see myself slowing down and getting out of, let's say administrative roles. But I think that if you stop completely, or at least for me, then I worry that the end is soon. I mean, I think that you maintain, um, your senses about you and your I don't know. So I don't really have a I've thought a lot about that. I mean, particularly from a director standpoint, but I don't see myself necessarily as retiring anytime soon.
So, so it's, I mean, I'll play around with this just a little bit more of it. So, are you a believer for chairs, for example, in term limits or not? Do you think, I mean, that's not to say that any chair, is definitely going to have a shelf life, etc. But, and term limits means just like your dad, you take
Yeah.
somebody who's vigorous and active and
Yeah.
contributing and saying, you're done. Uh,
Yeah.
but the opposite is true. You don't have a term limit. You have surgeons, many legendary examples, surgeons in their 80s and plus, standing in people's way, etc. Where do you stand on that?
Right. So that's a great question because I do think that being in those types of administrative roles, whether you're director of a cancer center or chair of surgery, that there probably should be a limit on time because I mean there are younger people coming up who have ideas as well,
Yeah,
and I just think because I think a lot about that. I'm sure we all have, but I mean we've seen folks that probably have gone too long. I mean we know surgeons who um, have operated for too
yeah,
long or are no longer, let's say, capable of doing it. So, as I tell people, I never want somebody to come to me and take away the car keys, so to
yeah.
speak, like you would a parent. So, it's knowing, I think it's a really fine line. I mean, you don't want, I mean, you want to leave when things are going well, when when
Yeah,
things are not going down the hopper, and just that right time is
you
is
have
is
somebody who will, your best friend who will tap you on the shoulder and say, Mark, let's have
yeah,
a beer.
yeah, yeah, exactly. I mean, I just don't want to get to that point. So you want to go out when you're still on top, still have your
Yeah.
wits about you, and um, exit gracefully as opposed to somebody telling you it's time.
So, with that in mind, in the few minutes left to us, let's pivot for some non-surgical questions that relate to the things that matter in life. We've already heard that you are a disturbed Stones fan, we'll call it, um, as a diehard Beatles fan.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, I know.
It's like dog and cat people, huh?
Yeah. Well, so that's my next question. So cats or dogs?
Dogs,
Yeah.
no question.
So there you are in beautiful Kentucky, and you have a weekend in a country cabin, and you are obliged to invite two guests to spend the weekend with you, not just a dinner date, but two people spend the weekend with you. Anybody from history, dead or alive, who would you invite?
No, great question. Um, it would probably, this is totally off the wall, but Keith Richards, who I'd love to know more about, and the stamina and being able to, will be 82, and everybody had him pegged as,
Yeah,
going to die at age 27 or whatever. But I think he's had an incredible life, and the other individual that you may you'll laugh at, of course, is Dolly Parton. I mean, I think coming from Tennessee and seeing her the roots that she grew up and how she's become extremely successful. I'd love to have a dinner with her and really understand sort of the secrets of her success, which an incredibly successful individual who has sort of remade herself over the years in terms of what she's done. So those are the two people off the top of my head. I'm sure again, you've had very erudite people on your show that have given much more
I,
scholarly answers.
I agree. Both of those are fascinating individuals. I'll tell you my Stones trivia. So the late Charlie Watt had a hobby. He used
Yeah.
to collect vintage cars.
Yes. Yes.
He didn't drive. Um,
Right. Right. He just collected. Exactly.
and not just collected. He collected and he had the upholstery of the cars redone in the material that he had a suit made of.
Oh, I did not know that. I did
Exactly.
not know that.
So he would have these very brazen tartan or whatever
Yeah.
suits,
Yeah.
and he would go out to the Rolls Royce, and the seats were done in the same material, and he liked nothing but better just to sit there uh,
Yeah.
and contemplate the world. And the other thing he said, which I always thought was classic Charlie, he said, you know, you spend a lot of time in a rock band waiting.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
He
Yeah.
he said he calculated.
20 years waiting and
Yeah,
5 years working was the
exactly.
quote.
He
Yeah.
said I think he said he worked it out and he'd spent 11 and a half years just waiting.
Yes. Yes. Oh, he would have been incredible to meet. I have to say, my wife accuses me of almost being a groupie because when they tour, they normally go to Four Seasons hotels. And so the board of surgery was meeting in Philadelphia in 2013, and I had tickets already to go to the show, but it was at the Four Seasons. And so who do I see outside but Mick Taylor, which was incredible. So anyway, had an opportunity to visit with him, get pictures and that sort of thing.
Yeah, no, I think your wife is right. Um, so have you ever asked anyone for an autograph?
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, multiple times when I was younger.
So
Yeah.
leaving aside the Stones, which is the autograph that you most value or would like to have?
Oh boy. Um, Great question because I mean most of the autographs I have are non-players basically or mid-level players.
Doesn't
Uh,
matter.
yeah,
Which is the one that you value?
yeah, good question. Yeah, I don't know to tell you the truth. I mean, I've got Nobel laureates, I mean, surgeons who are Nobel laureates, which I cherish, and um,
And you just asked them for their autograph?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and spent time. My daughter was doing a science project on cardiovascular surgery, which I thought was fascinating. Had a great. I took her to meet Dr. DeBakey and Dr. Cooley, so I got their autographs at that time. But yeah,
I
I
don't think I've
I
ever.
cherish those because yeah, because I mean, they're gone now,
Sure.
and
Yeah.
they
Yeah.
were icons in our field who really changed.
Oh, for sure. I don't think I've had a surgeon who collected autographs of that nature. But good for you. They are, as you say, they're gone now, and you have them. So,
Right.
um, what happens when we die?
What do you mean?
Is there life after death, or
I
what?
hope so. I hope so.
Do you believe so?
I believe so.
That's good. That's
Yeah.
good.
Yeah. That's
Some
what keeps you
some don't.
going, right? I mean,
Huh?
that's what keeps you going. I mean, you got to believe in that it's not all for naught, and hopefully there is life after death.
So I think I know the answer to this question. But what's your greatest extravagance?
Greatest extravagance.
It's
Um,
obviously buying tickets for Stones concerts, but
well, that has cost a lot.
yeah, I
For
can
years.
imagine.
You're definitely right because I mean some of the seating arrangements, but have been phenomenal. So I would say that has been an extravagance. I mean, when you go to that many concerts, because sometimes it's when they're touring, it would be three or four concerts during that time. So, luckily I don't have any bad habits that cost money. So I guess one extravagance is good.
We should probably have done this interview purely based on the troubling history with the Stones. So let me just clarify something you just said. So if they're on a world tour, you will go to several concerts in that one tour.
Yes,
Okay.
yes,
It's,
yes.
yeah, this
And
is
even, I mean, this is where it's really gotten ridiculous, but
yeah, yeah.
um, because they will complete their North American tour, but then go on tour in Europe. And so I've I've scheduled flights and go
I
to
this
Europe.
this requires like a team of therapists. It's not just
It really does. It really does. And I hate to even admit it because there are people out there who are going,
no, I'm
goodness.
sorry, it's too late. This is okay. So the simple ones now, football or baseball?
Football. Although I played baseball for many years, it's just gotten boring to me. Yeah, football.
It's an entire major league dist there. Just
Yeah,
beer or wine?
wine. Never could stand the taste of beer.
Mac or PC?
Um, Interesting question. I was a PC for many, many years and disdained those Mac folks, but over the past, I don't know, 10 years, I've that's all I get now is
Yeah.
Mac. It's Apple Watch, Apple
Yep, yep.
phone,
Actually.
hooked on that. Yeah.
Um, favorite food?
Oh boy, anything with chocolate.
Okay. Um, one song for the rest of your life.
Hmm. No, that's not fair. It ought to be the album for the rest of my life.
Okay,
Okay.
we'll go with album. Yeah.
Okay. Exile on Main Street. That is the quintessential Stones. Every song is a jewel. That's my desert island, my deathbed wish, etc.
Okay. Best book ever.
Oh boy. Um, I predominantly read history books, which I really much prefer. I'm reading a great book by John Chernow now on Mark Twain. So I wouldn't say that's the best book, but that is the genre that I normally like.
His biography of Mark Twain.
Yes,
I
yes,
I have just I for the last year I've been having a lengthy commute, and so I listen to audiobooks. Yeah,
yeah.
and I've just finished that very book, listening.
Really?
Yeah,
Okay. Because
yeah.
it's huge. I mean, it's 700 pages or
Well,
so.
so
Yeah,
when I put these books up on Apple Book, in the audio book,
yeah,
look at them and they're like 11 hours, whatever it might
yeah,
be. I I put this up, I was like some way through it and I put it up and it said 27 hours. I thought, what?
yeah, exactly. Exactly.
How can you spend 27? But he did.
Yeah,
It's a great
yeah.
book. It's a,
Oh, it is. I'm really enjoying that now. But yeah,
it does I mean, I'm not saying anything that he doesn't say, but it he there are some aspects to Mark Twain that I think would probably not do very well today, uh, in terms of his fascination with young girls, etc.
that is true. That is true. But I don't know. Yeah. It's hard to judge people. I mean, yeah.
Okay, two last questions. What talent would you like to have that you do not have?
Um, I'd say more of a musical talent in terms of playing instruments. I mean, I do play piano when I was in the band, but really I never, developed into the talent that I wish I had.
What's the best piece of advice you were ever given?
Best piece of advice. Um, do unto others. I don't know. I've gotten so much advice over the years. I mean, things that I've learned from my mentors, etc. But my parents always taught me hard work will sustain you. So just seeing where they kind of grew up in the Depression and what aspirations they have for their kids, that that has been great.
Last question is how would you, and this is not for a long time in the future, obviously, but how would you like to be remembered?
Well, as somebody who, you know, kept to the script and and worked hard and was able to maybe minimally succeed, but that's what's been kind of really important for me with this particular position that I'm in, because at some time in our lives, it's not all about us anymore. Or, I mean, you could go do the next operation, get the next grant, but it's what kind of legacy we're all going to leave. I mean, what is it that has been much greater than, say, Mark Evers? I mean, just this individual pursuit. So being in this position and being able to really, I think, in some ways, transform a culture in a state that badly needed it has been really, really important. And so I'm really proud of that legacy and hope that will continue.
Well, I think, Mark, uh, your legacy is very safe indeed. I think it's quite an extraordinary legacy and is safe for many years to come. I want to thank you for spending the time today. It's been very enjoyable to.
Very enjoyable and very boring, I'm sure, on your end.
Not at all. Not at all. It's you find things that you don't know about people, and it's been a real pleasure seeing you again and talking to you. And I know people will enjoy learning about your life journey as well as the worrying aspects of the stones
Yeah,
fetish, etc. So thank you so much.
you bet. Thank you, John.